Imagine standing on an open plain 100,000 years ago. No cities, no science, no explanation for the world above. The sky suddenly flashes white. A heartbeat later, an enormous roar tears across the landscape. The ground seems to tremble, animals flee, children cling to their families, and for the first time, human beings hear a sound so powerful that it feels as if the sky itself is alive. What did they think was happening? Did they believe a giant creature lived in the clouds, a hidden force beyond the horizon? Or was this one of the first moments that pushed the human mind to search for answers about the world? Before we uncover this ancient mystery, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy deep history, lost worlds, and the forgotten stories of our distant past. The sky breaks before anyone knows what a sky can be. Across a wide Paleolithic landscape, where grass bends under a hard wind and distant trees darken into a single trembling line. A small group of early humans stops moving. They have crossed river mud, followed animal tracks, carried stone flakes wrapped in hide, watched the light change from gold to grey, and felt the air thicken in a way that makes even breathing seem heavier. Then the first great sound arrives. It does not come from an animal. It does not come from a falling tree or a cracking branch or stones shifting underfoot. It rolls over the land from above, enormous and invisible, as if the empty space over their heads has suddenly found a voice. Before we go deeper, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. If this is the kind of history and mystery you enjoy, no one in that group has words for electricity, pressure, charged particles, or the violent expansion of air around a lightning channel. No one can separate sound from cause with the calm distance of later science. What they have is skin, muscle, memory, hunger, fear, and attention sharpened by a world that punishes carelessness quickly. The body understands the thunder before the mind explains it. Shoulders tighten, heads turn. Children press closer to adults, the old, who've heard many strange sounds in forests and valleys, may not know what this one means, but they know that a sound so large deserves respect. Early humans live in a world where survival depends on noticing signs. A broken reed can mean an animal passed nearby. A circling bird can mean death on the ground. A sudden silence in the trees can mean a predator. A scent on the wind can carry warning before anything is seen. In such a world, thunder is not background noise. It is an event. It is a force without a visible body, a warning without a face. What survives in the record cannot tell us the first private thought that passed through a human mind when thunder shook the air, but it can tell us something about the kind of mind that heard it. These were not simple creatures staring blankly at the weather. They were observant, social, adaptive people, carrying deep knowledge of animals, stone, fire, water, plants, roots, seasons, and danger. Their explanations were not scientific in the modern sense, but their attention was exact. The evidence remains incomplete because thunder leaves no fossil. It does not settle into sediment like bone. It does not preserve itself beside a hearth or beneath cave floor ash. Archaeologists can recover stone tools, butchered bones, pigments, footprints, shelters, and sometimes the faint traces of repeated occupation. They can study Ice Age climates, ancient landscapes, migration routes, and the remains of lightning-scarred trees only in unusual circumstances. But no layer of earth records the moment when a frightened child first hears the sky roar. No tool edge contains the shock of that sound. No cave wall can be confidently read as the first memory of thunder. The mystery must be approached indirectly, through what is known about storms, ancient environments, animal behavior, human cognition, and the long history of how people later turned the sky into story. The first important truth is that early humans were never living in a quiet world. The deep past was full of sound. Wind moved through grasslands and forests. Rivers cut through stone. Ice cracked. Volcanoes rumbled in some regions. Herds thundered over open ground. Lions, hyenas, wolves, bears, and great cats gave voice to the night. Trees fell. Rocks split under frost. Waves struck ancient shores. The natural world was not silent, and the human ear evolved inside that restless noise. Yet thunder is different because it comes from a place where few other sounds originate. It comes from above, from a distance that cannot be touched, and from a power that can arrive long before rain begins. It can shake the chest, echo through valleys, and roll across open plains with no clear source. For a mind trained to connect sound with living presence, that matters. To imagine what early humans thought, it is useful first to imagine where they stood, not in a single place, and not as one single kind of human. Over hundreds of thousands of years, different human groups and human relatives experienced storms across Africa, Europe, Asia, and beyond. Homo erectus, Neanderthals, Denisovans, early Homo sapiens, and other populations lived through climates that shifted between wet and dry, warm and cold, stable and chaotic. Some groups moved across savannas where thunderheads climbed like mountains in the late afternoon. Others sheltered near limestone cliffs while storms broke across Ice Age valleys. Some lived near coastlines where lightning flashed over dark water. Others crossed highlands where thunder bounced from ridge to ridge until the whole land seemed to answer itself. There was no single first thunder for humanity. There were countless first thunders for children, for migrating bands entering new terrain, for groups caught in open country, for people who had seen rain but never heard a storm trapped among cliffs, for human relatives who lived long before our species fully became itself. Scholars still debate many details of early cognition and symbolic thought, but they do not need to imagine prehistoric humans as empty-minded to explain their reactions. A thunderstorm is one of nature's great teachers. It teaches through fear first. Fear, in the ancient world, is not a flaw. It is information moving quickly through the body. A calm animal that ignores every loud sound does not last long. A nervous animal that reacts to everything wastes energy and may still survive. Humans, like many mammals, are built with startle responses that prepare the body before conscious analysis finishes its work. A sudden crash makes muscles contract, eyes widen, the heart speeds, attention narrows. In the Paleolithic world, that bodily reaction could be the difference between turning toward danger and being taken from behind. Thunder uses the same pathways. It is sudden, immense, and uncertain. Even when it causes no immediate harm, it trains the body to ask what has changed. The strange thing is that thunder is both threatening and strangely indirect. A predator announces itself and may attack. A falling tree has a visible trunk, broken branches, dust, and impact. A flood rises from a river or pours down a valley. But thunder can sound when nothing near the group has moved. It can arrive after a flash so brief that some eyes miss it. It can repeat, fade, return, split into echoes, or travel over hills from a storm not yet seen. To early humans, this may have made thunder feel less like an ordinary noise and more like an expression of the world itself. No single explanation fully accounts for how different groups understood it, but the combination of invisibility, scale, and danger almost certainly gave it emotional weight. Their first thoughts may not have been thoughts in the neat form later people imagine. They may have been sensations before explanations: danger above, stay close, find cover, remember this place, watch the elders, do not stand near the tall tree, do not cross the open ridge, keep the fire dry, protect the young. Long before thunder becomes a god in recorded mythology, it is a practical disturbance. It changes movement. It interrupts hunting. It threatens fire, shelter, and warmth. It can scatter animals or drive them into new paths. It can turn dry gullies into sudden water channels. It can make a familiar route unsafe. The sky's voice is not only frightening because it is loud, it is frightening because it announces a change in the rules of the day. For early humans, the sky itself may have seemed both constant and unpredictable. The sun returns, the moon changes but follows patterns. Stars wheel slowly in ways that attentive people can learn. Seasons shift, though not always gently. But storms are harder. They gather from heat, moisture, wind, and terrain, from processes invisible to the eye. A blue morning can become a violent afternoon. A dry horizon can grow black. A wind can arrive carrying the smell of rain, crushed leaves, wet dust. And distant lightning. Those who learn these signs have an advantage. Those who do not may find themselves exposed when the first cold drops strike and the first thunder rolls in. The world before explanation is not a world without intelligence. It is a world where explanation is built from repeated experience, social memory, and the deep human need to make danger predictable. Early people may not understand what thunder is, but they can begin to understand when it happens. They can notice the thickening air, the tower of cloud, the behavior of birds, the restlessness of animals, the sudden gust front before rain. They can learn that thunder often comes with water, fire from the sky, falling branches, cold, darkness, and sometimes death. Out of these observations, fear becomes knowledge, and yet something remains beyond practical survival. Thunder is too large to be only a weather clue. It fills the space between earth and sky. It arrives with light that can split trees and set grass burning. It makes the ground seem smaller and the human body seem fragile. In that moment, early humans are not only animals avoiding danger, they are minds confronting power. They stand beneath a sky that can speak without showing a mouth, strike without showing a hand, and vanish without leaving tracks. The first thunder does not merely frighten them. It opens a problem that human beings will carry for the rest of history: how to live inside a world that is powerful, unpredictable, and only partly understood. The sound fades, but the question remains. The storm passes over the landscape as all storms eventually do. Rain weakens into scattered drops. The dark wall of cloud drifts toward a distant horizon. Water collects in shallow depressions and trickles through channels worn by countless earlier storms. Birds begin to return to exposed branches. Small animals emerge cautiously from hiding places. The world appears familiar again, yet something has changed. The people who stood beneath that rolling sky now carry a memory that did not exist before. For modern humans, explanation often arrives almost immediately. A loud noise is traced to a machine, a vehicle, a construction site, an electrical discharge. Knowledge surrounds daily life so completely that mystery rarely survives for long. The deep past offers no such comfort. Early humans inhabit a world where every explanation must be built slowly from observation. The sky does not provide answers. The storm leaves no instructions. thunder arrives, terrifies, and departs. This is where one of humanity's oldest abilities begins to matter. The human brain is a machine for finding patterns. Long before writing, mathematics, astronomy, or formal science, human survival depends on recognizing connections. If dark clouds repeatedly precede rain, that pattern becomes useful knowledge. If certain plants appear after seasonal floods, that pattern becomes valuable. If animals gather near a water source during drought, remembering that relationship can mean survival. Natural selection favors minds that search constantly for causes. Sometimes this tendency produces remarkably accurate understanding. Sometimes it produces mistakes, yet both outcomes emerge from the same fundamental process. The brain sees two events occurring together and begins linking them. Thunder enters a mind already built to search for meaning. When a tremendous sound arrives from above, the immediate question is not necessarily, what is thunder in the modern scientific sense? Instead, the brain asks simpler and more urgent questions. What caused that? Will it happen again? Can it hurt us? How do we avoid it? What comes before it? What comes after it? Those questions are practical. They are survival questions. They are also the foundation from which larger ideas eventually grow. What survives in the archaeological record suggests that even very ancient humans possess impressive observational abilities. Neanderthals successfully hunt dangerous game across Ice Age Europe. Early Homo sapiens navigate complex landscapes, exploit seasonal resources, and adapt to dramatically different climates. Such achievements require attention to environmental details. These people notice things. They notice clouds. They notice wind. They notice temperature shifts. They notice unusual smells carried through the air. They notice changes in animal behavior. A storm may initially appear mysterious, but repeated encounters begin producing recognizable patterns. Perhaps the group notices that thunder often follows bright flashes in the sky. Perhaps they notice that the strongest storms emerge from towering dark clouds. Perhaps they learn that birds disappear before heavy weather arrives. Perhaps they recognize that lightning sometimes strikes isolated trees. None of this requires scientific theory, it requires memory. And memory is one of humanity's most powerful tools. A single frightening experience teaches caution. Repeated experiences create expectation. The first thunder may inspire pure fear. The 10th thunder begins to reveal clues. Across thousands of generations, countless human groups experience this same process. Children hear stories from older relatives. Experienced adults recognize warning signs that younger people overlook. Knowledge accumulates slowly, not in books, but in minds. The evidence remains incomplete. Yet anthropologists studying modern hunter-gatherer societies often find extraordinary environmental awareness. People living close to the land frequently detect subtle changes in weather long before outsiders notice them. They read cloud shapes, wind direction, humidity, insect behavior, and animal movements with remarkable skill. There is every reason to think ancient humans developed similar abilities. In fact, they may depend on them even more. A storm is not merely uncomfortable, it can be deadly. Heavy rain can destroy a temporary camp. Lightning can ignite vegetation. Floodwaters can appear with astonishing speed. Cold exposure after soaking rain can threaten survival, particularly in cooler climates. Thunder, therefore, becomes connected not only with fear, but with practical decision-making. Should the group continue traveling? Should they seek shelter? Should they move away from exposed ridges? Should they protect stored resources? These choices matter. The sky becomes something worth watching. Interestingly, The very features that make thunder frightening may also make it memorable. Human memory tends to prioritize emotionally intense experiences. Sudden danger leaves stronger impressions than routine events. A normal sunny afternoon disappears quickly from memory. A violent storm may remain vivid for years. That matters because memorable events are easier to teach. A child may not remember every lesson about gathering plants or shaping stone tools, but the memory of a tree exploding under a lightning strike could remain unforgettable. Lightning itself likely plays a crucial role in shaping early human interpretations of storms. Unlike thunder, lightning provides something visible. A flash cuts through darkness. It illuminates the landscape for an instant. It reveals a connection between sky and earth. Then it vanishes. Modern science explains lightning as electrical discharge. Early humans see something very different. They see fire descending from the heavens. That image is difficult to ignore. Fire already occupies a special place in human life. It provides warmth, protection, cooking, social gathering, and light. Fire transforms food and extends activity into darkness. It is useful, dangerous, and strangely alive. Then a storm reveals that the sky possesses its own fire. That realization may have been deeply unsettling. In some cases, lightning likely creates opportunities as well as dangers. Natural wildfires started by lightning can alter landscapes dramatically. They open forests, stimulate plant growth, expose animals, and create new ecological conditions. Some researchers have even suggested that early human familiarity with fire may initially come from observing naturally occurring fires, rather than creating them independently. Scholars still debate aspects of this process, but lightning almost certainly serves as one of nature's primary fire makers. Imagine standing on a distant ridge after a storm. Smoke rises from a blackened patch of woodland. Trees smoulder. Animals flee. The source of the fire appears to have come directly from the sky. Such events are not easily forgotten. Yet there is another feature of thunder that may have influenced human thinking. Thunder feels intentional, not because it actually possesses intention, but because human brains are naturally sensitive to signs of agency. This tendency exists for good reason. Throughout human evolution, failing to detect an agent can be fatal. A rustle in tall grass might be wind. It might also be a predator. Mistaking wind for a lion wastes energy. Mistaking a lion for wind can end a life. As a result, human minds often lean toward detecting possible agents even when certainty is impossible. Psychologists sometimes refer to this as a bias toward agency detection. Thunder interacts powerfully with this tendency. A huge sound emerges from an unseen source. It appears sudden. It appears purposeful. It commands attention. Even today, many people instinctively react emotionally to thunder despite understanding its physical cause. For ancient humans, the effect may have been even stronger. No single explanation fully accounts for how prehistoric people interpreted storms. Human cultures vary enormously, and early societies likely do as well. Yet the combination of pattern-seeking, memory, fear, and agency detection creates fertile ground for meaning. Thunder is no longer just noise. It becomes an event that demands interpretation. Over time, repeated observations reduce some uncertainty. People learn which clouds bring storms. They learn where shelter is safest. They learn that thunder often precedes heavy rain. But practical knowledge does not eliminate mystery. The sky remains vast. Lightning remains unpredictable. Thunder remains powerful. Even after generations of observation, much remains beyond human control. That tension between understanding and uncertainty becomes one of the defining features of human existence. People learn enough to survive. They rarely learn enough to feel completely safe. In this sense, thunder occupies a fascinating position in the prehistoric world. It is both familiar and mysterious, common and extraordinary, predictable in some ways, unpredictable in others. The storm can be anticipated. The exact strike cannot. The clouds can be watched. The sky's decision cannot. Long before formal religion, mythology, or written cosmologies emerge, humans are already confronting this balance. They are learning that nature follows patterns while still retaining immense power. The lesson repeats across generations. Watch the sky. Remember the signs. Seek shelter early. Respect the storm. And never assume that understanding a little means understanding everything. Because somewhere beyond the visible horizon, another dark cloud is already forming, gathering strength in silence before sending its voice rolling once again across the ancient world. Long before the thunder is heard, the storm begins changing the land. It starts with small signs that only experienced eyes can fully trust. The light loses its sharpness. The edges of distant hills blur. Heat rises from the ground, but the wind near the surface turns restless, shifting directions as if the air itself has become uncertain. Insects lower themselves into grass. Birds that had been active along the riverbank vanish into cover. A herd far away stops grazing and bunches together, not yet fleeing, but no longer relaxed. The people moving through this place feel the difference before they can explain it. The plain is wide, open, and dangerous in its openness. There are low shrubs, scattered trees, bands of reeds along water, and stone outcrops where the ground lifts from grass into rough shelter. In the distance, a dark cloud mass rises upward with unnatural speed, climbing higher than the hills, building upon itself until it resembles a mountain made of shadow. Its underside is bruised and heavy. Its upper edges are pale where sunlight still touches them. Beneath it, rain falls in grey curtains so dense that parts of the horizon disappear. For early humans, such a sight is not scenery, it is information. The group must decide whether to keep moving, turn back, climb towards stone, or descend toward thicker vegetation. Each choice carries risk. Open ground exposes them to lightning and wind. Trees can shelter them from rain, but branches break, and tall trunks can become lightning's chosen path. A river may offer a familiar route, but sudden rain upstream can turn quiet water into a fast brown surge. The safest place is not always obvious. The evidence remains incomplete. But what is known about Paleolithic life suggests that movement is rarely casual. People travel because resources demand it. Animals migrate. Plants ripen and disappear. Water shifts. Firewood must be gathered. Stone suitable for tools may be found only in certain places. A storm interrupts these necessities. It can delay a hunt, ruin dry tinder, chill bodies, erase tracks, and separate individuals who move too far apart. Thunder, when it finally arrives, is part of a larger transformation already underway. The first wind reaches them low and fast. It presses grass flat in waves. Dust lifts from bare patches of earth. The smell changes. Modern people often recognize the scent before rain as pleasant, but for people living outside, it is also a warning. Wet mineral dust, crushed leaves, damp bark, and the metallic edge of distant lightning mingle in the air. The temperature drops suddenly. Skin tightens. The body notices before thought becomes clear. There may be no spoken command in the modern sense. Early human communication is still debated, especially for older human species, and scholars continue to examine how language developed across deep time, but no complex sentence is required for a group to understand urgency. A raised arm, a sharp look, a change in pace, a gesture towards stone, an adult pulling a child closer. All of these can move people. Social animals survive because fear travels quickly from body to body. The youngest members of the group may understand least and feel most. To them, the world has always been full of large forces controlled by adults, fire tended by older hands, meat divided by stronger hands, paths chosen by those who remember them. But the storm belongs to no adult. No one can hold it back. No one can strike it, track it, or frighten it away. It approaches with the strange authority of something that does not need to show itself fully. Animals begin to move. Small birds burst from grass and vanish toward brush. Antelope or wild horses lift their heads, then angle away from the wind. Somewhere closer, a hidden creature breaks cover and runs. Such movement matters to human watchers. Animals are not merely background life, they are signals. Their fear can become human information. A herd running from a storm may reveal the storm's direction. Birds dropping low may reveal wind changes. Even predators may alter their behavior. Avoiding exposed ground or using confusion to hunt. A storm does not pause the food chain, it rearranges it. That is one of the lesser-noticed truths about ancient storms. For people without permanent walls, weather is not separate from survival. It enters every relationship. Rain changes scent trails. Wind distorts sound. Darkness gives advantage to some animals and removes it from others. Mud records tracks more clearly but also slows travel. A storm can hide a predator's approach, or mask the noise of a human group. It can force prey into gullies, onto ridges, or toward shelter. It can turn a familiar plain into unfamiliar territory in less than an hour. The dark cloud now covers most of the sky. The group moves toward a line of stone where shallow overhangs cut into the slope. The older ones have likely used places like this before. Maybe not this exact overhang, but this kind of refuge rock behind. Open view ahead. Enough shelter from direct rain. Not so deep that a large animal might already own it. Caves and rock shelters can protect, but they are not automatically safe. Bears, hyenas, snakes, insects, and other humans may also seek cover. Every shelter must be read before it is trusted. The first rain arrives in wide, scattered drops that strike dust hard enough to leave dark circles. Then more drops follow, faster, colder, heavier. The ground darkens in patches, then all at once. The smell grows stronger. The wind pushes rain sideways. Hair sticks to skin. Hides and plant fibers soak through. Fire. If the group has carried embers or maintained a small camp nearby, becomes a concern. Dry tinder must be protected under skins, bark, or stone. The loss of fire in certain environments can mean more than discomfort. It can mean cold food, cold bodies, darkness, and vulnerability. Then lightning flashes. For an instant, the entire plain becomes sharper than daylight. Every blade of grass, every wet stone, every startled face appears and disappears. A tree far out in the open stands black against white light. The flash is silent at first, and that silence may be the strangest part. The eye has seen the sky split, but the ear has not yet received its meaning. A heartbeat passes, another. Then the thunder arrives. It does not crack only above them. It spreads. It rolls across the plain, strikes the slope, returns from the hills, deepens inside the chest, and seems to come from several directions at once. the group freezes. Not because freezing is always the best response, but because the nervous system has taken command. The young press closer. The adults scan the land. The storm has crossed from warning into presence. Modern science can separate the sequence with precision. Lightning heats the surrounding air almost instantly to extreme temperatures, causing rapid expansion and a shock wave that becomes thunder. The delay between flash and sound reveals distance, but early humans do not need that explanation to notice that light and sound belong together. Over repeated storms, they may learn that when the flash is followed quickly by thunder, danger is near. When the sound comes later, the strike is farther away. This is not formal measurement, but it is practical intelligence. What survives in the record suggests that ancient humans were capable of such practical intelligence at a high level. They chose stone carefully, planned tool production, used landscape strategically, and learned the habits of animals. Reading storm distance from lightning and thunder would not be beyond them. Yet the first experience of that delay must have been eerie. A light appears in one moment, and only later does the world speak. Cause and effect are connected, but stretched across time. The storm grows more violent. Rain beats the overhang. Water pours from cracks in the rock. The plain beyond becomes a shifting grey surface. Another flash strikes closer, and this time the thunder is immediate, a violent crack that silences every other sound. A branch falls from a nearby tree, torn loose by wind or impact. The group pulls deeper under stone, but not too deep. Instinct and experience hold them in the uneasy middle, protected from rain, but alert to whatever else might enter. No one understands the storm completely, but complete understanding is not required for fear to become structured. Already the event contains categories. There is the darkening sky, there is the wind before rain, there is the flash, there is the delayed roar, there is the danger of tall trees, there is the safety of stone, though never absolute. There is the need to keep the group together, there is the need to remember, and perhaps, in the long hour that follows, as thunder repeats and rolls away and returns, the first raw terror begins to change. The storm remains frightening, but it is no longer a single unknown blow from the world. It has parts, it has signs, it has a rhythm, it builds, strikes, weakens, and passes. Somewhere inside that recognition lies the beginning of weather wisdom, and perhaps something more mysterious, the first sense that the sky's violence has a pattern. Even if the pattern still belongs to powers far beyond human reach. The first crack of thunder is not merely heard, it enters the body. It comes after a flash so bright that the world seems to vanish and return in the same instant. For one suspended heartbeat, the landscape is carved in white light wet grass, dark stone, bent trees, human faces turned upward, eyes wide, hands gripping hide and wood and one another. Then darkness rushes back. The rain seems louder. The air feels charged. The group has no time to settle before the sound arrives. It breaks over them with a violence unlike ordinary noise. A close thunderclap does not roll gently at first. It snaps. It cracks the air open. It strikes the ear, the chest, the bones behind the face. The youngest flinch before they understand why. Adults tense as if something has leapt from the unseen world. Even the old, who have survived hunger, cold, injury, and predators, cannot treat such a sound as meaningless. The thunder is too large, too sudden, too complete. It fills every direction and leaves no safe place for attention to rest. In that moment, thought is probably not shaped as story. It is reaction. The body lowers, the breath catches, The eyes search for movement. Muscles prepare to run or hold still. A human nervous system, ancient and modern alike, is built to respond to sudden acoustic violence, because sound often arrives before sight. A cracking branch can precede a falling tree. A roar can precede an attack. A stonefall can begin above before the danger is visible. Thunder exploits this ancient alarm system perfectly. It announces force without offering a clear target. What survives in the record suggests that early humans are deeply social in their fear. Danger is not processed by isolated individuals alone. It moves through the group. One person startles, and others turn. One adult pulls a child inward, and the movement spreads. Someone shifts closer to the rock wall, and others follow. This shared response matters because in prehistoric life, safety is often collective. A lone person misreading danger may die. But a group that reads one another can survive uncertainty more effectively. The crack fades into a heavy rolling sound that travels across the plain and returns from the hills. The echo makes the thunder stranger. It seems to have more than one body. It speaks once from the cloud, then again from the valley, then again from the stone behind them. For people who live by tracking sources, echoes can complicate the world. A call from an animal can bounce in ravines. A footstep can mislead in a cave. Thunder magnifies that confusion until the entire landscape appears to answer the sky. No single explanation fully accounts for what early humans believed in such moments. But the immediate emotional structure is easier to imagine. There is smallness, there is exposure. There is the awareness that no spear, stone flake, digging stick, or firebrand can challenge what has just happened overhead. Many dangers in the ancient world can be faced directly. A predator can be watched, a carcass can be defended, a rival group can be avoided or confronted. A winter can be prepared for. But thunder offers no opponent. It gives the feeling of attack without the possibility of attack in return. That imbalance may have shaped its power in human imagination. Early people understand many forms of strength. They know the strength of large animals, floodwater, stone, fire, cold, and hunger. Thunder belongs with these forces, but it is also different because it arrives as command. It interrupts every action. It silences smaller sounds. It makes the landscape submit. For a few moments, all attention belongs to the sky. The surprising detail is that thunder may also have taught distance. The delay after lightning is not random. A flash near the horizon produces a long wait before sound. A nearby strike produces thunder almost at once. Early humans may not count seconds in a formal way, but they can feel difference. A child who hears elders tense after a nearby flash learns that the timing matters. A group that notices close flashes are more dangerous gains practical knowledge. The evidence remains incomplete. Yet such observational learning fits well with everything known about human adaptation. These were minds capable of connecting repeated sensory events into useful expectations. Still, the first close thunderclap resists calm analysis. It feels too immediate. The overhang trembles faintly. Loose dust falls from a crack in the stone. Water shakes in shallow puddles. The sound rolls through the ground as much as the air. This physical quality matters. Thunder is not only a noise above, it can be felt below. To people without scientific categories separating atmosphere, earth, and electricity, the whole world may seem involved. Sky flashes, air breaks, stone answers. Ground shivers, bodies react. The storm becomes a total event. The group remains under shelter. Rain lashes the plain. The adults watch the nearest trees, the slope above, the wet ground at their feet. Their attention divides between visible risks and invisible ones. A wet branch can fall, a flash can strike nearby, a hidden animal can seek the same refuge. Water can begin running down the slope. Fear does not focus on thunder alone. Thunder heightens everything else. It makes the world feel unstable. Scholars still debate how far back complex symbolic interpretations extend and how they differed among human species. It is possible that some ancient groups treated thunder mainly as dangerous weather, remembered through practical rules. It is also possible that others, especially later Homo sapiens with rich symbolic cultures, layered the sound with meanings that connected sky, ancestors, animals, fire, and unseen forces. The archaeology cannot preserve the exact belief, but the bodily shock comes first in every case. Before myth, before ritual, before explanation, there is the startle of a living creature beneath a violent sky. Another thunderclap follows. Farther away this time, it rolls longer, less sharp, as if the storm is turning its face from the shelter. The group does not relax immediately. Fear fades slowly. Bodies remain prepared long after the danger passes because ancient survival rewards caution. Yet repeated thunder begins to form a sequence. The flash, the wait, the roar, the rain, the fading. A pattern enters memory. The first crack may be pure alarm, but the later ones become comparable. This one is nearer. That one is farther. This one follows a white branch of light. That one comes from behind the ridge. The mind begins sorting terror. Such sorting may be one of the quiet beginnings of human mastery. Not mastery over the storm itself, but mastery over response. The people cannot stop thunder. They cannot command lightning away from trees, but they can learn not to run blindly into open ground. They can learn to gather the young. They can learn to protect fire. They can learn that stone shelters help, but only if chosen carefully. They can learn that the sky's voice, however frightening, is not endless. As the thunder moves across the land, it leaves behind more than wet grass and shaken bodies. It leaves behind a memory with shape. The next time the light dims and the wind turns cold, someone may remember this moment. Someone may look toward the ridge sooner. Someone may draw the group closer before the first flash. And in that small act, the terrifying voice of the sky becomes part of human knowledge, no longer completely unknown, never completely safe, but slowly brought into the fragile circle of things that can be watched, remembered, and survived. When the storm finally reveals its fire, the mystery deepens. Thunder alone is frightening enough. A great invisible sound rolling across the sky can unsettle even the most experienced members of a group, but lightning transforms that fear into something more complicated. Sound can be imagined as distant. Sound can perhaps be ignored. Lightning cannot. It is visible. It strikes. It changes things. The people sheltering beneath stone see it happen. Far across the plain, a jagged branch of white light descends from the dark cloud and touches the earth. The flash lasts only an instant, yet the image remains burned into memory long after it disappears. For a brief moment, the connection between sky and ground becomes visible. Something above has reached down and touched something below. Then the thunder follows. This time the sound matters less than what the eyes have already witnessed. Because now there is evidence. The sky is not merely making noise. The sky is doing something. For modern observers, lightning is an electrical phenomenon. For early humans, the distinction between lightning, fire, power, danger, and intention may have been far less clear. What survives in the archaeological record cannot tell us exactly how these events were interpreted, but it can tell us something important about fire itself. Fire occupies a unique place in human history. Unlike stone, wood, water, or bone, fire appears alive. It moves. It consumes. It grows. It spreads. It dies. It responds to fuel almost as if it were feeding. Long before formal religion emerges, fire already possesses qualities that demand attention. Humans gather around it, protect it, carry it, fear it, depend upon it. The relationship is intimate. A campfire provides warmth during cold nights. It keeps many predators at a distance. It makes food easier to digest. It allows social activity after sunset. It transforms darkness itself. And yet the same force can burn skin, destroy shelters, and consume entire landscapes. Fire is both friend and threat. Lightning introduces a startling possibility. Perhaps the sky owns fire too. The idea sounds simple, but its implications are profound. For countless generations, human groups likely encounter fires that begin without human involvement. A dry tree explodes after a strike. Grasslands ignite. Smoke appears on distant hills following a storm. Entire patches of woodland blacken and burn. The evidence strongly suggests that natural fires play a major role in prehistoric ecosystems. Long before humans become skilled at controlling fire, lightning is already shaping landscapes around the world. In some regions, particularly dry grasslands and savannas, lightning-caused fires are common enough to become a recurring environmental force. They clear vegetation, recycle nutrients, alter habitats, and influence animal movements. Ancient humans do not need scientific ecology to notice these effects. They simply observe consequences. A place that looked one way before the storm looks different afterward. The transformation is impossible to ignore. Imagine a group returning days after a violent thunderstorm. The air still carries a faint scent of smoke. Blackened trunks stand where green trees once grew. Ash covers the ground. Animals have moved elsewhere. The familiar landscape has changed. No predator did this. No flood did this. No human did this. Something from the sky did. That realization may have carried enormous psychological weight. Scholars still debate aspects of humanity's earliest relationship with fire. The evidence suggests that controlled fire use emerges gradually, rather than through a single moment of invention. Some early human populations may have collected naturally occurring fire before reliably creating it themselves. If so, thunderstorms become more than sources of fear. They become sources of opportunity. A lightning strike that ignites a tree may provide access to burning material. A wildfire may expose roasted animals. Smouldering branches may be carried away and preserved. The same storm that threatens life may also offer one of humanity's most valuable resources. Nature often works this way. Danger and opportunity arrive together. The storm teaches both lessons at once. Yet the connection between lightning and fire likely remains mysterious for a very long time. The flash happens too quickly. The mechanism remains invisible. A tree stands unharmed one moment and burning the next. To modern eyes, the sequence is obvious. To ancient observers, it may appear almost magical. Not magical in the fantasy senses, but in the sense of revealing a power whose workings remain hidden. The evidence remains incomplete, but human cognition provides some clues about how such events might be interpreted. People naturally search for causes. When a tree falls, there is usually a visible reason. When an animal dies, there are often visible injuries. When fire suddenly appears, the cause may be less obvious. Lightning offers a partial answer while simultaneously creating a larger mystery. The sky causes the fire. But how? That question may linger for generations. Interestingly, lightning behaves in ways that can make it seem almost selective. It strikes one tree but not another, one hill but not the next, one patch of ground while leaving nearby areas untouched. From a scientific perspective, these patterns reflect electrical conditions, height differences, conductivity, and other physical factors. From the perspective of an ancient observer, they may appear unpredictable, perhaps even personal. This is where human pattern recognition encounters one of its greatest challenges. The brain wants order. The storm provides only partial order. Certain clouds bring lightning. Certain weather patterns precede storms. Yet individual strikes remain difficult to predict. The result is a mixture of understanding and uncertainty. People know enough to expect danger. They do not know enough to control it. The tension creates fertile ground for awe. Awe is often misunderstood as simple admiration. In reality, awe combines wonder with a sense of overwhelming scale or power. It occurs when something feels larger than ordinary understanding. Lightning excels at producing awe. It appears suddenly. It possesses immense energy. It changes the environment. It resists easy explanation. And it comes from the sky itself. The emotional impact can be profound. Even today, people frequently stop what they are doing to watch distant lightning storms. They photograph them, study them, talk about them. A thunderstorm remains one of nature's most dramatic spectacles despite centuries of scientific understanding. For ancient humans, the experience may have been even more intense. No textbooks existed. No forecasts existed. No explanations waited nearby. Only observation. Only memory. Only repeated encounters with something vast. The storm continues across the landscape. Rain pounds the earth. Water races through temporary channels. Lightning flashes again, illuminating the plain in stark white light. Then comes another surprise. Not every strike causes fire. Some leave no visible trace. Some strike far away. Some appear to disappear into the ground. Others strike repeatedly in nearly the same area. The inconsistency itself becomes part of the mystery. Humans are remarkably good at learning rules. Nature often refuses to provide simple ones. Thunderstorms occupy that frustrating space between order and chaos. Patterns exist. Exceptions exist too. No single explanation fully accounts for how different prehistoric groups interpret these events. Some may emphasize practical lessons. Others may develop symbolic associations. Many likely combine both approaches without separating them clearly. After all, survival knowledge and meaning-making are not opposites. They often grow together. A place repeatedly struck by lightning might become memorable. A particular tree might acquire significance. A rocky hill where storms seem especially violent might be approached with caution. These responses need not involve formal belief systems. Repeated experience alone can create powerful associations. Memory attaches itself to unusual places. Lightning creates many such places. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect of all is that storms reveal a hidden connection between sky and earth. Most daily experience separates the two. The ground supports life. The sky hangs above it. Lightning briefly erases that separation. A brilliant channel appears. Energy travels. Fire follows. Thunder answers. The world suddenly feels connected in ways that are normally invisible. For a species increasingly capable of abstract thought, such moments may leave lasting impressions. Not because they provide answers, because they reveal mysteries, and mysteries have always attracted human attention. As the storm slowly moves away, the flashes become less frequent. The thunder grows more distant. Rain softens into a steady rhythm against stone and soil. The group survives. The danger passes, but the memory remains. Somewhere out on the darkened plain, a tree may still be burning. A thin column of smoke rises into the wet air. The fire below and the cloud above seem strangely related. And for the people watching from shelter, the sky has become something more than weather. It has become a source of power, a source of danger, a source of fire, and perhaps, for the first time, a source of questions that no immediate experience can fully answer. After the storm, the world is not the same landscape it was before. The change is subtle at first. Rainwater slides from leaves and stone. The air turns cooler. The grass lies flattened in broad silver-green waves. Mud clings to feet. The river, quiet earlier, now carries a darker colour and a stronger current. Broken twigs gather in shallow channels. In low places, water spreads where dry ground had been. The sky opens slowly, and light returns in torn pieces through the retreating clouds. The group emerges carefully. They do not step out as if danger has simply ended. The storm has passed, but storms leave traps behind. Wet slopes can collapse. Branches weakened by wind can fall without warning. Rivers can rise long after the rain overhead has stopped. Lightning may have struck beyond the hill, leaving fire, smoke, or splintered wood. A world struck by thunder must be read again. Fear begins to change shape here. During the storm, fear is immediate. It tightens the body, it gathers the group, it demands shelter. Afterward, fear becomes memory. It no longer rushes only through muscles and breath. It settles into the mind as a pattern, a lesson, a warning that can be carried into the future. This transformation is one of the deepest human advantages. A gazelle may remember a dangerous place. A wolf may learn from repeated failure. Many animals possess powerful memory, but humans turn memory into shared knowledge with unusual intensity. They carry events between minds. They pass them across age, gesture, sound, imitation, and later language. A storm that terrifies one generation can become caution in the next. What survives in the record suggests that early humans are not merely reacting moment by moment. They plan, return to favoured places, choose raw materials, maintain social bonds, and adapt behaviour to shifting environments. Such lives require memory stretched across days, seasons, and years. A violent thunderstorm fits naturally into that system of remembered danger. A child who cowers beneath stone during one storm may later become the adult who recognizes the same dark tower of cloud. The body remembers the cold wind. The eyes remember the flash. The ears remember the crack that seemed to split the world. That adult may not explain the storm scientifically, but may move sooner, gather others sooner, protect embers sooner, and avoid the tall, exposed tree that once burned after lightning touched it. The evidence remains incomplete because emotional memory does not fossilize, but its practical effects can be inferred from the way human groups survive. People who learn from rare, dangerous events gain an advantage. Floods, fires, storms, predator encounters, winter shortages, injuries, and failed hunts all become part of a group's invisible library. Thunder enters that library as both sound and sign. The landscape itself may help preserve the lesson. A lightning-scarred tree can stand for years. A burned patch of ground can mark a story without words. A rock shelter where a group survived a storm may become favoured in later travel. A dangerous gully where water rose too quickly may be avoided. People living close to the land often remember places through events where the herd crossed, where the child was born, where the old one died, where the fire started, where the sky struck. In this way, thunder becomes attached to geography. The storm is no longer only something that happens overhead, it becomes part of the map. The group moves through a remembered world. A ridge is not simply a ridge, it may be the place where lightning hit. A lone tree is not simply a tree, it may be the one no one stands beneath when clouds gather. A dry stream bed is not simply easy walking, it may be a hidden flood path after distant rain. Such knowledge does not need written signs, it lives in habits. Scholars still debate how early symbolic systems developed, but practical memory almost certainly comes first. The earliest meanings may be inseparable from survival. A place feels dangerous because something happened there. A sound matters because it came before danger. A cloud shape matters because it came before rain. Repetition turns experience into expectation. Thunder is powerful because it often gives warning and threat at once. It may announce rain that helps plants grow and fills water sources. It may also announce lightning, falling branches, cold exposure, flash floods, and broken travel plans. The same sound can mean relief in a dry season and danger in an exposed place. No single explanation fully accounts for how every ancient group responds, because the meaning of thunder depends on landscape, climate, season, and memory. In dry grassland, thunder may bring hope of water. In cold country, it may bring the danger of wet clothing and loss of warmth. Near steep terrain, it may warn of sudden torrents. In dense forest, it may signal falling limbs and fire. On open plains, it may mean exposure beneath a sky that can strike. The mind learns not one rule, but many. This complexity may have made thunder especially important in social learning. Younger members cannot simply be told, in modern terms, that thunder is dangerous. They must learn when, where, and how it is dangerous. They must learn that shelter can save them but also hide animals. They must learn that fires must be protected from rain but not fed recklessly during high wind. They must learn that moving through a storm can be more dangerous than waiting. But waiting in the wrong place can be dangerous too. Ancient life is filled with such hard lessons. The storm may also strengthen the group itself. Fear shared under shelter can bind people. Huddling together during cold rain preserves warmth. Adults protecting children reinforces trust. The memory of surviving a violent storm becomes not only a warning, but a social event. Those who were there remember who acted quickly, who found shelter, who kept the fire alive, who carried the injured, who remained calm. Survival is rarely only physical, it is relational. Early humans depend on one another for food, defense, learning, and care. A thunderstorm can expose weakness, but it can also reveal cooperation. Under the overhang, with rain beating down and thunder shaking the air, the group becomes a single listening body. That experience may matter long after the clouds vanish. There is lesser-known detail in human psychology that fits this ancient scene well emotionally. Intense memories are often strengthened by bodily state. Fear, cold, smell, sound, and visual shock combine into a richer memory than ordinary experience. The scent of wet stone, the flash of white light, the pressure of another body nearby, the taste of rain, the ache of crouched legs, the deep roar moving through the chest, all of it binds together. Later, a similar smell or wind may awaken the whole memory before conscious thought catches up. That is how survival knowledge often works. The body remembers first. The storm becomes part of instinct, but not instinct in the narrow inherited sense. It is learned instinct, experience hardened into reaction. When clouds gather again, the group does not begin from nothing. The past reaches forward. And yet, even with memory, thunder never becomes ordinary. It repeats often enough to be recognized, but not gently enough to be ignored. Each storm is familiar and new. Each one may pass harmlessly or bring disaster. That uncertainty keeps attention alive. The first thunder teaches fear. The remembered thunder teaches caution. The repeated thunder teaches pattern. Across generations, this progression may turn storms from pure terror into weather wisdom. But wisdom does not erase awe. The sky remains larger than the group. Lightning remains unpredictable. Thunder still rolls from a place no hand can reach. As the people continue across the wet plain, their path has changed. Perhaps they avoid the exposed ridge. Perhaps they move toward a known shelter. Perhaps they carry a smoking branch from a tree struck beyond the valley. Perhaps they simply walk more quietly, with the storm's memory still close behind them. Above, the clouds thin. Below, their footprints fill slowly with rainwater. Behind them, thunder has vanished into distance, but inside the group, it remains. It has become a warning stored in muscle, a story stored in place, and a lesson waiting for the next darkening sky. The humans are not the only ones listening. Long before thunder becomes memory in a human mind, it has already moved through the bodies of animals across the plain. The storm announces itself to every ear, every nose, every sensitive foot pressed to the ground. Birds vanish from open air. Grazing animals lift their heads and turn into the wind. Predators pause in cover, calculating whether the coming confusion will help or hinder them. Small creatures disappear beneath roots, stones, burrows, and grass. The entire landscape changes behavior before the first heavy rain has fully arrived. For early humans, this matters because animals are part of the weather. They are not separate from the environment. They are signals moving through it. A herd shifting direction may reveal wind or water. Birds settling suddenly may suggest pressure changes or danger. The silence of insects can make a forest feel wrong before any visible threat appears. People who survive by hunting, scavenging, gathering, and avoiding predators cannot afford to ignore such signs. They learn the land partly by watching the creatures that share it. Thunder, then, is not interpreted in isolation. It is interpreted through reaction. If the sound frightens the herd, the sound matters. If birds disappear before it, the sky is changing. If predators alter their movements, the storm may open danger in one place and opportunity in another. What survives in the record suggests early humans are highly skilled observers of animal behavior, because hunting large game requires knowledge far beyond simple strength. Tracks, droppings, broken vegetation, alarm calls, seasonal routes, and feeding habits all become part of the human world. Storm behavior likely enters that same body of knowledge. A distant rumble rolls over the hills, and animals respond differently depending on their lives. Herd animals may bunch together, lowering the chance that one individual becomes isolated in confusion. Birds may seek lower branches, reed beds, or rock ledges. Carnivores may retreat to dens or exploit the cover of rain. Insects may vanish so completely that the sudden quiet becomes its own warning. Amphibians, in warmer and wetter places, may grow active after rainfall, turning storm aftermath into a season of sound and movement. Early humans notice these differences because they have to. A storm can interrupt a hunt, but it can also create one. Rain softens ground and preserves tracks. Mud records direction. Wind can hide human scent or carry it badly. Thunder can startle animals into movement. A flash flood can trap prey in the wrong place. A wildfire started by lightning can expose carcasses, drive animals from cover, or open new grazing after the burn. No single explanation fully accounts for how every group uses this knowledge, but the connection between weather and animal behavior is too important to ignore. There is also a deeper lesson hidden in these observations. Humans may fear thunder, but they see that animals fear it too. That shared reaction can make the storm feel even larger. A lion's roar is frightening, but many animals know what a lion is. Thunder frightens the lion as well. A storm can scatter creatures that usually seem powerful, alert, or difficult to surprise. When the sky speaks, the hierarchy of the ground briefly changes. Everything listens. This may have affected early human imagination in subtle ways. If even strong animals respond to the sky, then the sky belongs to a category beyond ordinary strength. It is not merely another predator. It is not simply weather in the modern detached sense. It is a force that reorganizes the living world. The evidence remains incomplete, and scholars still debate how early humans understood unseen causes. But watching animals react would have reinforced the seriousness of thunder. Fear becomes validated by the behavior of other creatures. The group may learn, over time, that some animal reactions are better guides than others. Birds can vanish for many reasons. Herds may run from predators as well as storms. Insects may fall silent in cold, darkness, or disturbance. The world offers clues, but not every clue is clear. This uncertainty trains sharper observation. A sudden movement must be judged alongside cloud shape, wind, smell, light, and memory. The ancient mind does not read one sign. It reads many at once. A lesser-known detail is that some animals can detect storm-related changes before humans consciously notice them. Many species respond to shifts in pressure, humidity, electrical charge, or low-frequency vibrations. The exact abilities vary, and it would be wrong to imagine animals as mystical weather prophets. Yet their bodies often register environmental changes in ways human observers can learn to associate with approaching storms. Early humans, living continuously outdoors, may have become sensitive not only to the sky itself but to the chain reaction it produced among animals. This creates a kind of borrowed perception. Humans do not need to sense everything directly if they can watch the beings that do. A flock rising suddenly, a herd turning from a valley, or the absence of usual evening calls may extend human awareness beyond human senses. The storm is first seen in the cloud, then heard in thunder, but it is also read in wings, hooves, fur, and silence. As rain begins, the plain becomes a shifting theatre of survival. Larger herbivores move toward lower ground or away from exposed ridges depending on terrain. Smaller mammals stay hidden. Birds cling to sheltered branches. Predators may lie still, conserving energy, or move under cover if prey has been pushed into disadvantage. Scavengers wait. After the storm, the opportunities change again. Washed ground may reveal roots. Flooded burrows may expose small animals. Lightning-killed trees may attract insects. A carcass struck drowned, or abandoned may draw dangerous competition. Early humans live inside this web. They are not outside nature looking in. They are one species among many, unusually clever, increasingly symbolic, but still vulnerable to the same sky. Thunder may remind them of this shared condition. The storm does not care whether a body walks on 2 legs or 4. It does not distinguish between hunter and hunted. it falls across all. And yet humans can do something unusual with the shared fear. They can turn it into teaching. A child sees birds vanish before rain, and later learns to notice the same pattern. A young hunter watches animals move before a storm and remembers where they go. An older forager knows that after thunder and rain, certain places become rich with edible growth, while others become dangerous with mud and insects. Across repeated storms, animal behavior becomes part of the human forecast. This is not science in the formal sense, but it is careful empirical knowledge. It is built from attention, memory, comparison, and correction. A mistaken pattern may fail, a useful one survives. A group that learns from animals learns faster than a group that watches only itself. Still, animal reactions could also deepen mystery. If creatures flee before the loudest thunder, what do they know? If birds vanish before the first flash, what have they sensed? If predators grow quiet, what presence has entered the world to a mind already prepared to detect hidden agency? The synchronized behavior of animals may make the storm seem less like a random event and more like the arrival of an invisible power recognized by all living things. The rain eventually weakens. Animals begin returning to movement in stages. First the small rustles, then the calls, then the distant grazing. The world does not resume all at once. It reassembles itself. Humans watch that too. They learn when danger is passing not only from the sky's silence, but from life cautiously beginning again. The storm has spoken, and every creature has answered in its own way. For early humans, this chorus of fear and return becomes another layer of understanding. Thunder is not only sound from the clouds, it is a force reflected in the behavior of the living world, a warning carried through wings and hooves, through sudden silence and sudden flight. To understand thunder, the first humans do not listen only to the sky. They listen to everything beneath it. Stone changes the meaning of a storm. Out on the open plain, thunder belongs to the whole sky. It spreads without boundary, rolling over grass, water, trees, and exposed bodies. Beneath stone, the sound becomes different. It deepens. It gathers weight. It strikes the roof of the shelter, slips along the wall, and comes back as a low vibration that feels older than weather. Rain beats outside, but inside the overhang there is a narrow band of dryness, a rough ceiling, a back wall, and enough shadow to make the group feel briefly held by the earth. For early humans, shelter is never just a place to escape discomfort. It is a decision about survival. A good shelter protects against rain, wind, cold, and sometimes predators. A bad shelter can trap people, hide danger, flood suddenly, or collapse. Caves and rock overhangs may look safe from a distance, but they must be tested by experience. The floor may hold old bones from carnivores. The smell may reveal recent animal use. The entrance may be too narrow for easy escape. The ceiling may shed stones after heavy rain. The shelter that saves a group from thunder in one season may become dangerous in another. The evidence remains incomplete, but archaeology shows that many Paleolithic groups repeatedly used caves and rock shelters across different regions and periods. Some were brief stopping places, others became long-term recurring sites with hearths, tools, butchered bones, pigments, and layered traces of human activity. These places were not only homes in a simple sense, they were stations in moving lives, memory points in landscapes, and sometimes stages for symbolic behavior that scholars still debate. A storm makes such places more important. Under the overhang, the group compresses itself into a smaller social world. Bodies draw near. Wet skins steam faintly in the cool air. Children are kept away from the edge where rain blows inward. Tools are gathered so they are not lost in mud. Dry tinder, if they have it, becomes precious. Embers must be shielded. The smell of damp stone mixes with smoke, animal hide, wet hair, and earth. Outside, lightning turns the rain white for an instant. Inside, every face appears briefly, then returns to shadow. This closeness matters. A storm does not only test the relationship between humans and nature, it tests the relationship among humans. Who is protected first? Who controls the fire? Who watches the entrance? Who knows whether the stream below may rise? Who has seen this shelter before in a world without permanent architecture? Knowledge of refuge is a form of power, but also a form of care. The person who remembers the safe overhang, the dry ledge, the windbreak of stone, may save the whole group. No single explanation fully accounts for how early humans emotionally understood caves during storms, but their physical qualities are obvious. Stone shelters offer a rare reversal of exposure. Outside, the sky is vast and uncontrollable. Inside, there is boundary. The ceiling may be low. The back wall may be close enough to touch. The entrance frames the storm rather than allowing it to surround the body completely. Even if thunder still shakes the shelter, the human mind can take comfort in edges. There is a surprising contradiction here. Caves can make thunder feel safer and stranger at the same time. The shelter protects the body, yet it changes the sound into something more mysterious. Thunder echoes through chambers and cracks. A distant roar can seem to emerge from behind the wall or from deep under the ground. Water drips in hidden places. Wind moans at the entrance. Shadows move with every flash of lightning. The storm outside awakens voices inside the stone. For people already sensitive to unseen causes, this may have been powerful. The sky speaks, the cave answers. The storm becomes not only an event above but a conversation between elements of the world. This does not prove that early humans believed caves were alive or that thunder was a spirit. Scholars still debate the depth and age of such symbolic interpretations, but the sensory experience is undeniable. Stone reshapes sound. Darkness magnifies uncertainty. Shelter protects and unsettles at once. In many landscapes, humans likely use more than caves. Forest canopies break rainfall, though they bring danger from falling branches and lightning-struck trunks. Dense shrubs can reduce wind. Mammoth bone structures, hide tents, windbreaks, and temporary camps appear in later Paleolithic contexts in some regions, showing that humans increasingly modify their environments rather than only accept natural shelter. Even before complex-built shelters, people understand the value of terrain. A hollow, a cliff face, a fallen tree, a cluster of boulders, a dune, or a dry rise above floodwater can determine survival. Storms teach architecture before architecture exists. They teach where a body should be placed in relation to wind, water, stone, and fire. They teach that the highest point may be dangerous. They teach that low ground may flood. They teach that trees are both cover and risk. They teach that the best camp is not only near food and water, but also defensible against weather. Over generations, these lessons may influence where people return, where hearths are built, where children sleep, and where tools are stored. The hearth is especially important. If a small fire survives under shelter while rain hammers the world outside, it changes the emotional center of the storm. Fire becomes a second sky, small and human-held, flickering against the great fire above. Lightning may be the sky's flame, but the hearth is the group's flame. Around it, fear becomes more manageable. Warmth returns to wet hands. Faces become visible. The entrance remains dangerous, but the centre holds. What survives in the record suggests that hearths are among the most intimate traces of ancient human life. Ash, charcoal, burned bone, reddened earth, and arranged stones can mark repeated occupation. A hearth does not preserve a storm, yet it preserves the human answer to darkness and cold. During thunder, that answer may have felt especially meaningful. The people cannot command the clouds, but they can protect one small circle of light. Such scenes may also strengthen storytelling long before formal stories are recorded. In darkness, with thunder outside and fire inside, attention naturally gathers. Older members may gesture, vocalize, demonstrate, warn, or remember. Even without knowing the exact form of ancient language in every period, it is reasonable to infer that shared danger encourages shared communication. The storm presses the group inward. The shelter gives that inwardness a place. The young learn not only from instruction but from atmosphere. They learn that thunder is faced together. They learn that fear has rituals of action: move close, stay low, keep dry, guard fire, watch water, listen to elders, wait. These are not rituals in the later religious sense necessarily, but repeated behaviours under pressure. Repetition gives fear a pattern. Pattern gives fear limits. And beyond the shelter, the storm continues to shape the map. Some caves become remembered as safe, others are avoided. A shelter where the fire survived may be favoured. A hollow that flooded may be marked in memory as treacherous. A place where an animal entered during rain may become a warning. Over time, storm experience becomes tied to movement routes and seasonal knowledge. The sky influences the geography of human life from above, while stone offers the first answer from below. When the thunder finally weakens, the group does not rush out. They wait for the living world to return. They listen for birds, insects, water, branches, animal movement. They watch the light outside soften from storm grey to evening blue. The overhang has held them, but it has also taught them. It has shown that safety is never absolute, only chosen carefully and revised us memory. Beneath stone, early humans may not fully understand thunder, but they learn how to endure it. They learn that the world contains places where the sky's violence can be survived. They learn that shelter is not simply found, it is recognized, and in the deep human story, this recognition matters enormously, because every later dwelling, every wall, every roof, every city raised against wind and rain begins with the same ancient impulse to make a small defended space beneath a dangerous sky. A voice without a body is one of the oldest human problems. Thunder arrives with a force that feels almost impossible to separate from intention. It speaks from above, but there is no visible throat. It shakes the air, but no creature stands before the group. It commands attention, but leaves no tracks in mud, no scent on grass, no body to follow or avoid. For early humans, whose survival depends on connecting signs to living causes, this absence may be more disturbing than the sound itself. The world they know is full of agents. Animals move with purpose, predators stalk, herds choose paths, birds warn, flee, gather, and return. Other humans gesture, threaten, help, deceive, and remember. Even fire seems to behave with a strange hunger, growing when fed and shrinking when starved. In such a world, a sound as enormous as thunder may feel difficult to treat as empty accident. The evidence remains incomplete, and it would be careless to claim certainty about prehistoric beliefs. No one can recover the first explanation whispered, gestured, or silently felt beneath a storm-dark sky. Scholars still debate how early symbolic thought developed, how far back complex spiritual ideas extend, and how different human species may have understood unseen forces. Yet the human tendency to search for agency is well established. When something powerful happens, the mind often looks for someone or something behind it. This tendency is not foolish. It is protective. In a dangerous landscape, assuming that a sudden sound might have an agent can save a life. A rustle may be wind, but it may also be a leopard. A shadow may be nothing, but it may also be a rival. The cost of overreacting is often lower than the cost of ignoring danger. Thunder exploits this ancient bias on a grand scale. It behaves like a signal from a hidden presence, even though modern science shows it is the shock wave of rapidly heated air. To early humans, thunder may therefore occupy an uncertain category. It is not an animal, yet it behaves like power. It is not a human, yet it seems to communicate. It is not fire, yet it travels with fire in the clouds. It is not stone, yet stone echoes it. No single explanation fully accounts for how different groups resolved this uncertainty. Some may have treated thunder mainly as dangerous weather. Others may have felt it as the action of unseen beings, ancestors, sky powers, or forces that had no fixed form. The important point is that practical knowledge and unseen meaning can coexist. A group may know that dark clouds bring thunder and still believe the thunder has intention. They may learn to avoid ridges and tall trees while also treating the storm with awe. Later human cultures often combine technical skill with spiritual interpretation. There is no reason to assume the deep past must have separated them neatly. Under the shelter, as the storm rolls away and returns through echoes, the sound may seem to come from multiple places at once. This matters. A visible animal has location. Thunder dissolves location. It moves across the sky, down the valley, through stone, and into the body. It is everywhere and nowhere. For a mind trying to locate danger, that is profoundly unsettling. Perhaps early humans imagine the sky itself as active. Perhaps they feel that the clouds are not empty. Perhaps they do not imagine a being at all, but simply experience thunder as the world's anger, the land's warning, or the heavens breaking open. These are possibilities, not recoverable facts. What survives in the record suggests only that later humans become intensely symbolic, filling landscapes with meaning, marking caves with images, burying the dead in carefully considered ways in some contexts, shaping ornaments, pigments, and objects that appear to carry more than practical function. Thunder fits naturally into the kind of world where sound, danger, and meaning become intertwined. There is also the matter of scale. Early humans know large animals. They know mammoths, rhinos, aurochs, bears, lions, and other creatures capable of killing with force. But even the largest animal has limits. It sleeps, it bleeds, it leaves tracks. It can be watched from a distance. Thunder's scale is different. It belongs to the horizon. It can be heard by many groups across wide lands. It can strike far beyond sight. It can return after silence. It makes the sky feel not empty, but occupied by power. A lesser-known detail about human perception is that low-frequency sounds often create unease because they are felt as much as heard. Thunder contains deep frequencies that can vibrate through the body, especially when close or amplified by terrain. Such sounds may feel larger than ordinary hearing. They seem to pass through the boundary of the self. For ancient people without scientific categories, that bodily penetration could intensify the sense that thunder came from something beyond ordinary life. But fear alone does not create belief. Repetition, memory, and social sharing give fear shape. If a storm follows a death, the connection may be remembered. If lightning strikes near a shelter after a conflict, people may search for meaning. If thunder arrives during a migration, a birth, a hunt, or a famine, the event may attach itself to the human story around it. The brain links what happens together, especially under emotional pressure. Some links are accurate, some are coincidence. Both can become powerful. This is how the unseen begins to enter human life, not necessarily through formal doctrine, but through charged events that seem to ask for explanation. Thunder is one of those events. It is too dramatic to be ignored and too elusive to be fully grasped. It leaves people with an impression that something has acted, even when that something cannot be found. As the rain softens, the group may emerge from shelter and scan the world. No animal stands in the sky, no giant shape crosses the clouds, no visible hand has struck the burned tree. The absence remains, yet the sound was real, the flash was real, the fear was real, the tree split open is real. The gap between visible evidence and invisible cause becomes a space where imagination can work. That imagination should not be dismissed as primitive error. It is part of the same human capacity that later produces art, mapping, astronomy, ritual, storytelling, and eventually science. To imagine unseen causes is dangerous when it hardens into false certainty, but it is also essential for understanding the world. Germs, gravity, electricity, and deep time are all unseen in ordinary experience. Human beings survive partly because they can think beyond what stands directly in front of them. The early response to thunder may therefore contain two futures at once. One future leads toward myth, toward storm beings, sky fathers, thunderbirds, hammer gods, and divine weapons. Another leads toward observation, toward noticing clouds, distance, seasons, and weather patterns. These futures are not enemies at the beginning. They grow from the same astonishment. The sky has spoken, and the speaker cannot be seen. For early humans, that may be the most haunting part of all. The storm passes, the clouds break, the animals return, the group resumes its movement, but the invisible voice remains in memory. It has entered the human world as a force without a body, a danger without tracks, a presence made only of light, sound, and consequence, long before temples, written myths, or named gods. Thunder may have helped teach the human mind to feel that reality contains more than what the eye can hold. Thunder does not only frighten the mind, it gives the body a rhythm. A storm has patterns that can be felt before they are understood. The flash, the pause, the roar, the fading roll, the silence before the next flash. Rain begins as scattered drops, grows into a steady force, then loosens again into dripping leaves and running water. Wind rises, presses, shifts, weakens. The whole event seems to breathe in violent cycles. For early humans, who live close to repeated natural rhythms, this may matter deeply. The ancient world is full of rhythm. Walking has rhythm, grinding seeds has rhythm, shaping stone has rhythm, scraping hides, cracking bones, cutting meat, pounding pigment, and carrying loads all create repeated bodily patterns. Fire flickers, water drips, hearts beat, breath changes with fear, rest, running, and sleep. Long before written music, Rhythm is already part of human life because the body is rhythmic. Thunder enters that world as one of the largest rhythms imaginable. It is irregular, but not meaningless. It repeats with variation, it arrives in waves, it can be anticipated after lightning, it can echo across stone like a vast drum. The evidence remains incomplete, and no one can say that the first storm directly produced the first ritual beat. Yet the connection between powerful natural sound, shared emotion, and human rhythmic expression is worth considering carefully. Human beings are unusually responsive to synchronized sound. Group movement, chanting, clapping, drumming, and dancing appear in later human societies across the world. Such practices can strengthen social bonds, regulate emotion, coordinate action, and create a sense of shared presence. Scholars still debate when and how early musical and ritual behaviors emerged, but the ingredients exist deep in human nature bodies that move together. Voices that shape sound, hands that strike surfaces, minds that remember patterns. A thunderstorm may have offered one of the earliest overwhelming examples of sound as power. Under a rock shelter, thunder rolls through stone, and the group feels it together. No one hears it privately. It surrounds everyone at once. The fear is shared, and the silence after it is shared too. That shared silence can become important. After a close thunderclap, the group may wait, listening. The next flash comes. Bodies tense before the sound. The pause creates expectation. The roar releases it. In that cycle, nature teaches anticipation. Later humans will make meaning from anticipation in countless forms. They will mark seasons, repeat stories, beat drums, sing in groups, and create ceremonies around danger, fertility, death, hunting, rain, and sky. It would be too much to claim thunder caused these things. No single explanation fully accounts for the origins of ritual or music, but thunder belongs to the sensory environment from which such behaviors emerge. It is one of the great demonstrations that sound can change the emotional state of a group. There is a lesser-known detail here low. Resonant sound can create a strong bodily effect even when its source is not fully visible. Deep vibrations may be felt in the chest, belly, and ground. In caves, echoes can extend and multiply sound, making it seem to come from within the earth as well as the sky. Some researchers studying decorated caves have noted that certain chambers have striking acoustic properties, though interpretations remain debated and should not be overstated. Still, humans entering such spaces would have noticed that voices, footsteps, stones, and storms behave differently underground. Imagine thunder outside a cave while someone inside strikes two stones together to sharpen an edge or break bone. The small human sound answers the great sky sound in miniature. A hollow log, a stretched hide, a stone wall, a chest, a throat, all can produce resonance. Early humans may not think of this as music in the later sense. They may simply notice that sound can be made, repeated, intensified, and shared. The storm's rhythm may also shape emotion after the immediate danger fades. Fear is exhausting when it remains unstructured. Repeated action can help contain it. Moving together, staying close, tending fire, arranging tools, passing food, or producing sound may steady the group. Ritual, in its earliest form, may grow partly from the need to give shape to experiences too large for ordinary control. This does not mean that every thunderstorm becomes ceremony. Most storms are probably endured practically find shelter, protect fire, wait, move again. But some storms stand out. A lightning strike near camp, a wildfire that changes the hunting ground, a death during a storm, a birth as thunder rolls, a migration delayed by days of rain. Such events can attach power to the storm in memory. Repetition around those memories can become custom. What survives in the record suggests that symbolic behavior becomes increasingly visible among later human groups through pigments, ornaments, burials in some contexts, cave imagery, engraved objects, and carefully chosen materials. The exact meanings remain uncertain. Archaeologists can describe red ochre on a surface, a pattern engraved on bone, or paintings deep inside caves, but they cannot always recover the story behind them. Thunder may not be directly preserved in these traces, yet it belongs to the same world of sensory intensity, danger, awe, and repeated meaning. The link between thunder and later storm traditions is widespread but indirect. Many recorded cultures associate thunder with drums, weapons, hooves, wings, anger, speech, or divine movement. Some imagine it as the sound of a being crossing the sky. Others connect it with rain-making, fertility, punishment, protection, or seasonal renewal. These traditions are much later than the first human encounters with thunder, and they cannot be read backward as simple proof. But they reveal something persistent about the human imagination. Thunder feels like more than noise. Its rhythm makes it feel expressive. A single crash can sound like command. A rolling peal can sound like movement. Distant thunder can sound like warning. Repeated thunder can sound like a conversation between sky and earth. The mind turns these impressions into forms it can hold. Sometimes that form is practical knowledge. Sometimes it is story. Sometimes it's rhythm made by human hands in answer to the sky. Early humans may respond first with silence, then with gesture, then with remembered action. Over long spans of time, some groups may imitate storm sounds through drums, stamping, clapping, or vocalization. Though direct evidence for such imitation in the deep Paleolithic is extremely limited, the possibility remains plausible but uncertain. It should be treated as inference, not fact. Still, the human urge to echo the world is ancient. People imitate animals, reproduce tracks, mark shapes, retell hunts, and later paint bodies and cave walls. To echo thunder would fit that broader tendency. And perhaps the most important point is not whether thunder created ritual, but how thunder made awe social. A private fear can vanish with the person who feels it. A shared fear can become culture. When a whole group hears the same roar and survives it together, the event becomes available for repetition in memory. The sound may be described, gestured, mimicked, warned about, or attached to a place. Over time, the storm becomes part of the group's emotional inheritance. The rain outside weakens. The thunder retreats. Inside the shelter, sounds become smaller again, dripping water, breathing, a child shifting, stone scraping stone, fire cracking softly if the embers have survived. These quiet sounds matter more after thunder because they mark return. The world has narrowed from sky-sized violence back to human scale. Yet something of the rhythm remains. The body remembers the flash and pause. The mind remembers waiting for the roar. The group remembers being one listening presence beneath stone. Long before written hymns to storm gods, long before temple drums or rain ceremonies, there is this older scene: humans in darkness, hearing the sky's vast percussion, feeling fear become shared attention, and discovering that sound can bind a group as surely as firelight. The hardest part of this mystery is that the most important evidence has vanished. Stone tools survive. bones survive. Hearths survive if the conditions are kind enough. Pigment can cling to cave walls for tens of thousands of years. Footprints can harden in ancient mud. Charcoal can remain sealed in sediment. But the first gasp after thunder, the first terrified glance upward, the first meaning attached to a storm cloud, all of that disappears almost instantly. The sound is gone as soon as it rolls away. The thought leaves no mark unless it changes behavior, and even then the connection is difficult to prove. This is why the question must be approached carefully. It is tempting to imagine a single dramatic answer early. Humans thought thunder was a god, or a monster, or an ancestor, or the sky breaking apart. Any of these may have been true for some people in some place at some time. None can be proven as the first or universal explanation. The evidence remains incomplete, and scholars still debate how far back specific forms of symbolic belief can be traced. The deep past does not give up its inner life easily. Archaeology is powerful, but it is selective. It favours the hard, the buried, the burned, the abandoned, and the accidentally protected. A stone flake dropped beside a hearth may survive longer than a story told around that hearth for 100 generations. A broken animal bone may be easier to interpret than a gesture toward the sky. The material record can reveal where people lived, what they ate, how they made tools, what animals they encountered, and sometimes what they chose to mark or bury. But it cannot directly record a mind listening to thunder. Still, absence is not emptiness. The surviving traces allow a careful outline of possibility. We know early humans lived through storms because they lived outdoors in storm-bearing worlds. We know they depended on weather-sensitive resources. We know they used shelters, fires, tools, and social learning. We know later humans developed rich symbolic responses to sky, weather, fire, death, and animals. What we do not know is exactly when a storm sound first became a story, a rule, a warning, or a sacred sign. This uncertainty is not a weakness in the subject, it is part of its power. The silence in the record forces a different kind of listening. Consider a cave floor. Archaeologists may uncover layers of ash, stone flakes, animal bones, and sediment. Each layer represents repeated human presence, perhaps separated by seasons, years, or centuries. Rainstorms may have passed outside that cave countless times. Thunder may have shaken the entrance. Lightning may have illuminated the walls. People may have huddled there, protected fires there, taught children there, waited out storms there. Yet unless the storm caused a distinctive deposit, nothing in the layer announces it. A hearth might suggest warmth during cold or wet weather, but not thunder specifically. A shelter location might suggest protection from wind and rain, but not the fear that led people there. A cave painting may include animals, signs, handprints, or abstract marks, but rarely can scholars say with certainty that any mark refers to thunder. Interpretations exist, some more cautious than others, but the evidence often stops short of certainty. No single explanation fully accounts for the relationship between natural events and early symbolic behavior. Some cave art may relate to animals, hunting, identity, memory, altered states, social teaching, or cosmology. Some marks may have meanings now lost entirely. Thunder may have influenced the atmosphere of cave life without being directly depicted. The sound may have shaped where people gathered, when they stayed inside, how they experienced darkness, and how they imagined the boundary between sky and earth. There is a lesser-known problem in archaeology called equifinality, though the word itself matters less than the idea. different behaviors can leave similar traces. A group may use a shelter because of rain, predators, raw material access, ritual meaning, nearby water, or a combination of all of these. Thousands of years later, the deposits may look similar. A burned layer might come from a hearth, a wildfire, or repeated occupation. A cave chamber might have been chosen for acoustics, privacy, temperature, symbolic value, or simple convenience. The material trace rarely carries only one possible meaning. Thunder hides inside this problem. It affects human life strongly, but indirectly. It may lead people into shelters, but shelter use has many causes. It may intensify fire protection, but fire use has many purposes. It may inspire symbolic thought, but symbols rarely come with labels. It may shape memory, but memory leaves no artifact unless embodied in repeated practice. This is why responsible storytelling must separate what is known from what is inferred. It is known that thunderstorms are ancient natural phenomena experienced by human ancestors. It is known that human brains are highly responsive to sudden loud sounds and visible danger. It is known that early humans possessed social learning, environmental awareness, and practical intelligence. It is inferred that thunder likely frightened them, shaped behavior, and invited interpretation. It is possible that thunder contributed to early ideas about unseen power, but the exact form of those ideas cannot be recovered. That careful boundary does not make the scene less vivid. It makes it more honest. The first humans who heard thunder were not cardboard figures waiting for myth to be invented. They were living minds in dangerous landscapes. They felt weather with their whole bodies. They watched animals. They protected children. They carried fire. They remembered places. They knew that the world could give and take without warning. Thunder entered that already complex life as one of nature's most commanding events. The surviving record gives us fragments: a hearth under stone, a pathway of footprints, a handprint on a wall, a scatter of tools beside butchered bone, a child's track preserved near an adult's, a cave entrance facing an ancient valley. Around those fragments is the missing soundscape: wind, rain, breathing, animal calls, fire crackle, and thunder. Archaeology recovers the stage, the props, and sometimes the marks on the wall. The storm itself must be reconstructed from the world those people inhabited. And perhaps that is fitting. Thunder is always partly absent. Even for modern people, it is a sound of something already happened, a message arriving after the flash. It belongs to delay, distance, and disappearance. By the time it reaches the ear, the lightning channel is gone. By the time memory forms, the sky has already changed. The evidence we cannot hear may be the most human part of the story. It reminds us that ancient people were not only toolmakers and hunters, they were listeners. They lived inside sound. They learned from what roared, cracked, whispered, rustled, and fell silent. Some of that listening shaped decisions that left traces in earth. Much of it vanished into the air. So the mystery remains open, but not empty. Thunder leaves no fossil, yet it passes through every layer of human possibility: fear, memory, shelter, fire, rhythm, imagination, and survival. The record may never tell us exactly what the first humans thought when the sky spoke, but it shows us enough to know that they were listening, and that listening itself was one of the first great acts of understanding. The mind that hears thunder is not empty ground. It is already shaped by millions of years of danger. Long before early humans try to explain the sky, their bodies have been prepared to survive sudden change. A branch snaps behind them, a stone falls from a cliff, a predator moves through grass, A child cries in the dark. The nervous system does not wait for careful investigation. It reacts first, then sorts meaning afterward. Thunder enters through that ancient doorway. It is sudden, loud, invisible, and too large to ignore. So the body treats it as important before the mind has any chance to decide. This is one reason thunder can feel meaningful even when it is not intentional. Human cognition is built to connect events, to ask what caused them, and to search for hidden agents behind visible effects. In a dangerous environment, this tendency often helps. A rustle in the brush may only be wind, but assuming it could be an animal keeps a person alive. The cost of caution is small compared with the cost of failing to notice a real threat. Thunder magnifies this pattern until the whole sky seems to demand attention. Early humans are also social interpreters. They do not simply hear a sound and react alone. They watch one another react. A child studies an adult's face. A younger hunter notices when an older one becomes tense. Fear spreads through posture, movement, silence, and breath. In this way, thunder becomes a shared cognitive event. One person's alarm teaches another person what matters. The group becomes a living instrument for measuring danger. What survives in the record suggests that ancient humans and their close relatives were capable of planning, teaching, cooperation, and environmental learning. These abilities require mental flexibility. They require remembering what happened before and applying it to new situations. A storm is an ideal test for such a mind. It is partly predictable, partly chaotic. It gives signs, but not guarantees. It rewards attention without ever becoming fully controllable. The brain looks for patterns. Thunder provides them, but imperfectly. Dark clouds often come before it. Lightning often precedes it. Rain often follows it. But not every cloud produces thunder. Not every flash strikes near enough to matter. Not every storm brings disaster. The result is a world that teaches caution through uncertainty. A mind built for survival does not need perfect knowledge. It needs enough knowledge to act before danger arrives. There is surprising strength in this imperfect reasoning. Early humans may sometimes overinterpret thunder, seeing purpose where there is only atmospheric physics. Yet the same ability to infer unseen causes later becomes essential to human intelligence. Tracking an animal requires imagining a creature no longer visible. Planning a hunt requires imagining future movement. Making a tool requires imagining a shape hidden inside stone. Caring for an injured group member requires imagining pain inside another body. Thinking beyond the visible is not an error. It is one of the foundations of human life. Thunder, therefore, sits at the edge of cognition. It is an unseen cause that produces visible effects. It trains the mind to connect flash, sound, rain, fire, and consequence. It also encourages imagination to reach beyond what can be touched. Scholars still debate the exact path from practical inference to symbolic thought, but the two are deeply related. The same mind that reads tracks in mud may also wonder what kind of power leaves no tracks at all. As generations pass, this mental work becomes layered. The first response is alarm. The second is memory. The third is expectation. The fourth may be meaning. A group that survives many storms learns that thunder belongs to certain skies, certain seasons, certain winds, certain places. Yet the storm's violence remains large enough to resist being reduced to ordinary knowledge. It stays emotionally charged. It stays worthy of attention. It stays available for story. No single explanation fully accounts for how early humans thought about thunder, because human thought itself is not a single thing. In one mind, thunder may be fear, in another, warning, in another, memory of fire, in another, a sign of rain after drought, in another, the presence of something unseen. These meanings can coexist inside the same group, even inside the same person. Human beings are rarely purely practical or purely symbolic. They are both at once. The brain built for storms is also a brain built for survival through narrative. Not narrative as polished myth at first, but as ordered memory. This happened, then that happened. The sky darkened, the birds vanished, the flash came, the tree burned, the rain fell, the river rose. Such sequences are the raw material of explanation. They allow the past to guide future action. They allow fear to be organized into knowledge. And so thunder becomes more than a sound. It becomes a lesson in cause and uncertainty, a pressure placed on the ancient mind, forcing it to listen, compare, remember, and imagine. It teaches that the world contains patterns too large to control and forces too powerful to ignore. Beneath the storm, early humans are not simply terrified creatures. They are thinking animals, shaped by danger, reaching toward meaning with the only tools the mind first possesses: attention, memory, fear, and the need to understand. Over time, thunder becomes less like a surprise and more like a skill. Not a skill in the hands, like striking flakes from stone or scraping hide clean of fat. Not a skill of strength, like carrying meat or lifting branches onto a fire. It becomes a skill of attention. The eyes learn to read the sky. The skin learns the shift of wind. The nose catches the scent of the rain before the first drop falls. The ears listen not only for thunder itself, but for the silences that gather before it. A storm is still dangerous, still larger than human control. But it is no longer entirely without warning. This is one of the great quiet transformations in human history. Terror becomes weather wisdom. The process is slow, uneven, and never complete. A group that has survived many storms may still be caught by one that forms quickly beyond a ridge. A dry riverbed may still flood from rain that fell far upstream. Lightning may still strike in ways no one expects. The evidence remains incomplete, but the logic of survival is clear. People who notice storm signs sooner have more time to act, more time to find shelter, more time to protect fire, more time to gather children and tools, more time to move away from exposed ground. Early humans live with the sky as a practical presence. A modern person may check a forecast before travelling. A Paleolithic group has only the world itself. The forecast is written in cloud height, wind direction, humidity, animal movement, light, temperature, and memory. A towering cloud rising in afternoon heat may carry one meaning. A low grey ceiling in colder country may carry another. A sudden gust with dust at its front may warn of violent rain. A hot stillness may feel suspicious because too many storms have followed it before. What survives in the record suggests that human groups are capable of highly refined environmental knowledge. They know where stone can be found, where animals travel, where water lasts into dry seasons, where plants appear after rain, and where shelter can be reached before night. Storm knowledge belongs to the same world of practical intelligence. It is not written, but it is precise. It is tested by consequence. A lesser-known detail is that thunder can become a distance tool. Even without numbers, people can notice that a flash followed immediately by a crack means the danger is close, while a flash followed by a long pause means it is farther away. They may not measure seconds, but they can feel nearness. The nervous system itself measures suspense. A short pause after lightning tightens the group. A long pause allows breath to return. Repetition teaches the body what distance sounds like. Such knowledge can shape movement. If thunder follows a flash too quickly, the group may stay under shelter longer. If the storm is far and moving away, they may continue toward camp or water. If thunder grows louder and the wind shifts, they may retreat. These are not abstract ideas. They are decisions with immediate consequences. Every storm becomes a test of accumulated memory. Weather wisdom also affects fire. A group that depends on embers must protect them from rain. Dry material may be wrapped, hidden under stone, carried under skins, or stored in places known to remain dry. During storms, the ability to keep fire alive can separate misery from survival. In cold environments, wet bodies and lost fire are a serious threat. In warmer places, fire still matters for cooking, protection, and social life. Thunder may signal the moment when every spark becomes precious. The storm can also determine hunting. Fresh rain erases old scent but lays down new tracks. Mud records hooves, paws, claws, and human feet. Animals may move toward certain slopes or away from open ground. After lightning, burned areas may attract or repel life depending on time and season. A hunter who understands storm aftermath may find opportunity where another sees only disruption. No single explanation fully accounts for every environment, but the link between weather and subsistence is unavoidable. In dry country, thunder may become a sound of hope. It may mean water returning to empty pools, grasses renewing, animals gathering, seeds swelling, and roots becoming easier to find. In colder or mountainous places, it may mean danger, exposure, landslides, and icy rain. This same sky voice carries different meanings depending on land and season. This flexibility is essential. Humans survive not by having one fixed response, but by adapting response to context. Over generations, certain people may become especially trusted readers of weather. The old who have seen many seasons, the hunters who spend long days watching horizons, the gatherers who know how plants change before rain, the travellers who remember which valleys flood and which ridges draw lightning. Their knowledge may not be formal authority, but it carries weight. When such a person moves toward shelter, others notice. Scholars still debate how knowledge was transmitted in the deepest past, especially before fully modern language is easy to infer. Yet teaching does not require a classroom. A child learns by being pulled away from a lone tree during a storm. A young adult learns by watching dry tinder protected before rain. A group learns by returning to the same safe overhang. Gesture, imitation, vocal warning, memory, and later richer speech all help weather wisdom pass from one body to another. The mystery of thunder does not vanish in this process. It changes position. At first, thunder may be pure shock. Later, it becomes warning. Later still, it becomes part of seasonal knowledge. But even the most experienced storm watcher cannot control lightning. Knowledge reduces helplessness without ending vulnerability. That is a powerful human condition to understand enough to act, but not enough to command. This may be why thunder remains emotionally strong even after it becomes familiar. It teaches humility. The sky can be read, but not mastered. The storm can be anticipated, but not stopped. A group can prepare, but still lose a tree, a fire, a tool bundle, an animal trail, or a life. The ancient world is full of forces that reward knowledge while reminding humans of its limits. As the generations pass, people learn the habits of thunder in their lands. Some storms come with seasonal rains, some gather over mountains, Some follow heat, some move along coasts, some arrive with violent winds. Each region teaches its own sky grammar. Human groups become fluent not in weather science but in lived weather experience. And somewhere in that long learning, the first terror becomes part of culture, not yet written myth, not yet named gods, not yet temple ritual, but something older and more practical, a pattern of looking upward when the air changes, a habit of gathering the young when the clouds darken, a memory of stone shelter, a respect for fire, a silence when the first distant rumble moves across the land. Thunder has not become harmless, it has become legible. That may be one of the earliest forms of human power, not defeating nature, not explaining it completely, but learning to read its warnings before they arrive in full force. The sky still speaks in a voice without a body, but now, beneath it, there are people who remember how that voice begins, much later, when human groups begin leaving clearer traces of belief. Thunder is no longer only weather, it has entered the world of story. The path from a Paleolithic storm shelter to the storm gods of later civilizations is long, uneven, and impossible to trace as one straight line. Thousands of generations stand between the first frightened listeners and the people who carve sky weapons into stone, paint storm beings, chant for rain, or build temples beneath thunderclouds. The evidence remains incomplete, and it would be misleading to claim that later myths preserve exact memories from the first humans. Yet later traditions reveal something important again and again. Human beings treat thunder as a voice of power. Across many recorded cultures, storms become associated with beings who command the sky. Some carry hammers, some throw lightning, some ride clouds, birds, bulls, dragons, or chariots. Some bring rain that feeds crops, some bring destruction that breaks cities, burns fields, and drowns valleys. In agricultural societies, thunder can become both feared and welcomed because rain is life, but too much rain is ruin. The ancient emotional pattern remains familiar, danger and blessing arrived together. This later world is not the Paleolithic world. Farmers, kings, priests, cities, writing systems, calendars, and organized rituals belong to societies with different needs and structures. But beneath those differences lies a shared human experience. Thunder is loud, lightning is dangerous, rain transforms land, the sky appears powerful and unpredictable. People want to know what it means, how to survive it, and whether it can be understood or influenced. What survives in the record suggests that storm symbolism becomes especially strong where rain determines survival. In river valleys, drylands, monsoon regions, mountains, and farming landscapes, the timing of storms can decide harvests. Too little rain brings hunger. Too much rain brings flood and disease. Lightning can burn structures, kill animals, and terrify communities. It is not surprising that later people imagined storm powers as rulers, warriors, judges, or life-givers. Weather holds authority over human plans. Yet these later myths may preserve, in transformed form, something older than farming. Before fields, there are hunters watching clouds. Before temples, there are shelters under stone. Before written prayers, there are bodies huddled together while thunder shakes the air. The human emotional response to storms does not begin with civilization. Civilization gives it names, images, and institutions. The feeling itself is far older. Scholars still debate how deeply prehistoric symbolic life can be connected to later mythology. Similar storm gods across cultures do not prove a single original belief. Human societies can independently create similar ideas because they face similar natural forces. Thunder suggests voice. Lightning suggests weapon or fire. Rain suggests gift. Storm clouds suggest gathering power. These associations are so immediate that many cultures may arrive at them separately. That makes the pattern even more revealing. It means thunder repeatedly invites the same kinds of interpretation. A sky that roars feels like a sky that speaks. A light that strikes feels like a weapon. Rain after thunder feels like release. A storm that destroys and nourishes feels like power with two faces. This does not tell us exactly what early humans thought, but it shows the direction in which human imagination often moves when confronted by thunder. The sound becomes speech, the flash becomes action, the storm becomes presence. There is a lesser-known continuity in the language of storms. Many cultures describe thunder through familiar earthly sounds: hooves, drums, stones, wheels, wings, weapons, footsteps, roaring animals. The unknown is understood through the known. This is a basic human strategy. When something too large or strange appears, the mind reaches for comparison. Early humans likely did the same, even if their comparisons were never recorded. Thunder might resemble falling rock, animal roar, cracking wood, herd movement, or the deep boom of hollow stone. From comparison, meaning begins. Later storm myths also show how practical weather knowledge and sacred interpretation can live together. Ancient farmers may know seasonal signs and still honor a storm deity. Sailors may read clouds and still fear divine wrath. Mountain people may understand dangerous slopes and still tell stories of sky beings. This mixture should warn against imagining early humans as choosing between rational survival and meaningful imagination. They likely used both, because both are human. The sky enters myth not because people are incapable of observation, but because observation alone does not satisfy every human need. Knowing that dark clouds bring thunder does not answer why a child died in a storm, why lightning struck one tree and spared another, why rain failed for a season, why fire came from above, or why the world feels so powerful and indifferent. Myth gives shape to uncertainty. It does not always explain in the scientific sense. It organizes fear, grief, hope, and memory. In this way, thunder becomes part of a much larger human project turning overwhelming experience into shared meaning. A storm can be survived physically, but it must also be carried psychologically. Later cultures carry it through story, ritual, symbol, taboo, prayer, warning, and song. The exact forms vary, but the need is familiar. Human beings do not only live through events, they remember them into forms. No single explanation fully accounts for the evolution from storm experience to storm mythology. Climate, economy, social structure, language, migration, memory, and imagination all play roles. Yet the basic sensory power of thunder remains a constant thread. It is one of the few natural sounds capable of making a whole community stop at once. It imposes shared attention, and shared attention is the beginning of culture. The ancient sky gods of later history may therefore be distant descendants, not of one first belief, but of countless encounters between human minds and storm-filled skies. Every generation adds something. A warning becomes a story becomes a custom becomes an image becomes a name becomes part of the people's world. And still, beneath all that complexity, the first experience remains recognizable. The flash, the pause, the roar, the body tightening, the search for shelter, the feeling that something immense has crossed the boundary between sky and earth. The sky enters myth because it first enters the body. Long before people carve thunder into symbols, they feel it in their bones. Long before they name storm gods, they learn to look up. Long before they build shrines, they gather beneath stone, trees, hides, and later roofs, listening to the same impossible voice. The later myths do not solve the mystery of the first thunder, they echo it. They show that the question did not disappear when humans became farmers, builders, kings, priests, poets, or scholars. The question only changed clothing. What is this power above us? Why does it speak? Why does it strike? Why does it bring both death and water? And somewhere far behind those later questions stands the older scene, a small group beneath a darkening sky, hearing thunder for the first time not as mythology, not as science, but as presence. The world roars, and human imagination begins to answer. What thunder leaves behind is not a ruin, not a monument, and not an artifact waiting patiently under soil. It leaves behind a change in attention. It teaches a living mind to look upward differently. It teaches a group that the world has layers of warning hidden before disaster. The pressure in the air, the strange stillness, the animals moving early, the line of cloud rising in the distance, the wind arriving cold across warm ground. It teaches that fear can be useful if it is remembered instead of merely endured. By the time humans begin turning the sky into myth, thunder has already passed through a much older human process. It has entered the nervous system, the map, the shelter, the fire circle, the memory of children, the caution of elders, and the stories attached to dangerous places. The first terror becomes knowledge. The knowledge becomes habit. The habit becomes culture. The culture becomes symbol. Across deep time, the roar above the plain travels farther than sound should be able to travel, because it continues inside human behavior. The evidence remains incomplete, and it always will. No single explanation fully accounts for what early humans thought the first time thunder crossed their world. Some may have felt only fear. Some may have understood it as a warning of rain. Some may have imagined unseen forces. Some may have connected it to fire, death, animals, or sky. Most likely, the answer was never one thing. Human beings are too layered for one response. A single thunderclap can frighten the body, sharpen the senses, stir memory, and awaken imagination all at once. This is the deeper legacy of thunder. It reveals how humans live between knowledge and mystery. They can learn patterns without mastering causes. They can survive forces they do not fully understand. They can turn fear into maps, shelter, ritual, and story. The storm does not need to become less powerful for humans to become less helpless. They do not defeat the sky. They learn how to stand beneath it. In that sense, the first thunder belongs to the same long story as every later human attempt to understand a dangerous world. The first person who watches clouds before moving camp is part of the same lineage as the farmer reading seasonal rains, the sailor watching the horizon, the astronomer tracking storms on distant planets, and the scientist measuring electrical discharge inside a cloud. The tools change. The impulse remains. Something happens beyond control. And the human mind leans toward it, trying to make danger legible. Scholars still debate the origins of symbolic thought, the depth of early ritual, and the exact mental worlds of our extinct human relatives. But whatever the differences between species, regions, and eras, thunder would have found the vulnerable animal inside every human body. It would have crossed language boundaries before language fully formed. It would have shaken Neanderthal valleys, Homo sapiens camps, Denisovan highlands, and older human landscapes whose stories are now almost entirely gone. Storms are among the few ancient experiences that connect vanished minds to living ones with startling directness. A modern person may know what thunder is. They may understand lightning, heat, air expansion, pressure waves, and distance. Yet when thunder cracks close overhead, the body still reacts. The shoulders tighten. The breath pauses. The eyes lift. For one instant, scientific knowledge shares space with something older. The ancient alarm remains alive beneath modern explanation. That continuity is humbling. It suggests that the first humans are not as distant as they seem. Their world is gone, but some of their bodily truth survives. Thunder also reminds us that early humans did not become human only by making tools or hunting animals. They became human by paying attention. They listened. They remembered. They cared for the vulnerable. They learned from fear without being destroyed by it. They watched animals and clouds. They kept fire alive through rain. They found stone shelters and returned to them. They transformed the sky's violence into guidance. Such achievements do not always leave spectacular artifacts, but they are among the foundations of human life. Perhaps this is why the question matters. Asking what early humans thought when they first heard thunder is really asking how consciousness met the unknown. It is asking what happens when a mind that can remember, imagine, and fear encounters a force too large to touch. The answer is not a single belief, but a sequence startle, attention, shelter, memory, pattern, meaning. That sequence may be one of humanity's oldest inheritances. So the storm passes again, the clouds thin, water slides from stone, animals return cautiously to the open ground. A small group steps out from shelter, carrying tools, embers, children, and the invisible weight of what has just happened. Behind them, the thunder has faded. Ahead of them, the land is wet, shining, changed. They do not know the science of the sky, but they know more than they did before. They know to watch. They know to remember. They know that the world can speak from above without warning, and that survival begins by listening. Long after the storm has moved beyond the hills, the land becomes quiet again, not silent, because the ancient world is never truly silent, but softened. Rainwater gathers in shallow footprints. The last drops fall from leaves and stone. Smoke rises thinly from protected embers. Somewhere in the distance, animals begin to move back into the open, trusting the sky slowly, as all living things must. The humans move on as well. They carry no written memory of the thunder. They leave no carved explanation of what it meant. What remains is smaller and deeper a turn of the head when clouds darken, a quicker movement toward shelter, a hand reaching for a child, a careful guard around fire, a pause beneath the first low rumble of the next storm. That may be how the oldest knowledge survives, not as a monument, but as a habit, not as a doctrine, but as a tension. The first thunder does not need to be solved to matter. It only needs to be heard, feared, remembered, and woven into the long practice of staying alive. Across the ages, the sky continues to speak. It speaks over vanished grasslands, over ice age valleys, over caves whose fires have gone cold, over rivers that have changed their courses, over bones buried too deep for memory. Human worlds rise and disappear beneath it. Languages are born and lost. Tools change. Myths gather names. Science finally explains the flash and the roar. Yet even now, when thunder cracks close overhead, something ancient wakes for a moment. The body remembers before the mind finishes speaking. And perhaps that is the lingering image to keep not a god, not a monster, not a simple answer, but a small group beneath a vast dark sky, listening together as the storm rolls away. They are frightened, but not helpless. They are confused, but not empty. They are learning. Above them, the clouds move toward the horizon. Below them, the wet earth shines in broken light. Between sky and ground, human memory begins its quiet work.